Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Miss.
Evening, Miss.
Tonight we have a few objectives and they're on the screen. We usually use our live sessions to ensure that students are aware of what their upcoming assignments are. We use them to go through case study presentations and of course to answer questions that you have regarding any assignments that you have been given. The reason why we do this is to ensure that you don't fall behind in your coursework. And in doing so, it's helping you to get the best possible grade for this course that you can. We also meet like this to ensure that your groups are working well. If you're having issues within your group, or maybe there's something you didn't quite understand, we use the session to address those. This is what you've accomplished so far. You've done 2 practical projects and your grades are on Moodle. You've completed 2 forums. Some of you, I'm still grading your forum posts. And those are 2 major accomplishments that you've done so far. The forums are individual grades. However, the practical projects are group grades. So whatever you work on together as a group, that's the grade you would have received overall. I'm going to take us over to Moodle just for a sec to show us where we are. On our course page, we have completed our first chapter. That was Information Systems in Global Business Today. And in that chapter, there are 3 processes. We have the theory week, the practical week, and then the research week. You've done all of that. We went on to Unit 2, which had, of course, its theory week, its practical week, and then its research week. Unit 2 looked at global business, global e-business, as well as collaboration. We are now entering a new unit, and this is Unit 3, which looks at information systems, organizations, and strategy. We are in the theory component of the week. So notice every chapter, we have 3 aspects that or 3 things that we do for each chapter. The first week looks at the theory, the second week we do some practical, and then the third week focuses less on the chapter and more on your research project, which equates to your exam grade. We are here at chapter 3, and this is theory week. A lecture covering chapter 3 is presented. It's already recorded on Moodle. Those interactive slides would represent these recorded lectures. We have a forum that you will be working on, and that forum becomes due on Sunday, the 2nd of October. We also have a practical project, which will become due the following Sunday, which will be the 9th of October. And then the third research phase will be explained, as well as the benchmarks will be given to you as students. We'll be speaking about standards for the work that you are to submit, as well as the relevance of theory to the forum, practical project, and research phases. Our objectives are also stated here, so you can always come back to this and read. But this unit looks at the features of organizations and how essential they are in building successful information systems. We also address Porter's competitive forces model, and we look at competitive advantage in this chapter. So as we continue to go through the chapters, you'll be hearing more about those. So what's your homework? You need to go through the interactive slides that are here on Moodle. And tonight we have a case study that you'll be listening to live in class, and this is pertinent to chapter 3. The static slides for chapter 3, which equates to your chapter of the textbook, are right here on Moodle. And when you click on the link, of course, it opens up in a new tab, and you'll be able to download this and read the content as if you had a textbook with you. So those are the slides, and the interactive slides that Dr. Ryan has here accompanies these slides that you would be given access to. All right, so all of these are already on Moodle for you, and you can go through them, read them, and try to get the most from them. We also have our discussion questions that we go through. And then, of course, there's the forum that we will come back to in just a second. All right, so now that we've navigated Moodle, before we proceed, I'd like to find out from each group where you are with respect to your final project. What have you done so far? What strides have you made? Just tell me how you're doing with your project so far. Let's start with group 1, and then we just continue.
Hi, Miss. So remember last week when I told you we haven't decided on a organization as yet? Well, we already passed that. We decided what we're going to do, and we're currently working with someone from that organization to help us find information about the organization itself and how it runs.
Thank you, group 1. Now, can you also share with us something that you remember from the reading assignment that you were given as well? Did you get to read the article? All right, it looks like group 1 hasn't had a chance to read it as yet. So the article, as soon as you guys are able to read it, it's going to help you to understand what should be in your literature review. And that's going to really be a guide as you prepare that document. All right, let's move on to group number 2. Tell us what you guys have done. And if you've read the article, you can be honest. If you haven't read it, be honest. If you have, what do you remember from the article?
Hi, good night. Good night, Miss. Hello.
Good night. Good night. I'm here.
Okay. Sorry. So we've made some strides on our lit review. I was under the impression that we were going to do a basic presentation. So I was ready to share my screen for you to see. I'm not sure if I can go ahead and do that.
Yes, I'd actually appreciate that. Let me stop sharing. Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
I can.
Okay, so far this is what we have. We haven't specified a topic as yet, but we know basically what we're doing. So we do have our business, the organization, sorry, already identified. As you can see here, we have the name of the software that the organization uses, which is MLISA. It stands for Marine Logistics Information System Application. And this is an in-house software. So our research paper is basically going to be differentiating between in-house software and purchase software. So like standardized software that is available to an organization like right off the rack. So it's going to be able to differentiate between those two. What are the benefits to the company? So far here, we have identified that the program used by, again, let me go, sorry. The organization is McQuilling's Partners, and they use the MLISA. So coming down back, we've identified that software can be identified as a transaction processing system. So that's what we're focusing on. And then we go down back to identify the company that made MLISA for the organization McQuilling's. And then we go down and we have a review as well with other organizations that have used a similar product, which is basically an in-house software. So that's where we're at right now at this moment.
This is really impressive, and I'm glad that you're able to work together despite the fact that we are not meeting face to face. The effort that you put in now will help you later on in the course, because what happens is that often students leave the these parts of the project for the final week. And that adds an extra stress to you when you have to be getting all these assignments done at the end of the course, because that's the time you should be getting ready for your exams. So get the hard parts done now so that you can relax at the end of the course and just focus on the other exams that you'll have when that time comes. All right, good job, group 2. Let's hear from group 3. What strides have you made so far? And if you've read the article on how to prepare a literature review, what do you remember from it? So Jalen, are you here? All right, I'm not seeing their group leader. Karen, you're in group 3. What have you guys been able to do so far? This is just a checkup. You're not being graded right now.
Okay, Miss. We just discussed it. We haven't started that part as yet, but we already have the folder in Google Drive, and we're planning on working on it this week, Miss. We're trying to complete that.
Okay, thank you, Karen. So these checkups are just for me to know if you need help and how I can assist you. If you're not clear on something, then it helps me to know where you are and what resources I can provide for you and how best I can assist you. All right, let's hear from the final group. Tidicha, you're in that group. Tell us what you guys have done so far.
Good night, Miss. Well, like I said last class, we had already decided on what organization we were going to do our final project based on. We also already figured out what sorry. I wasn't really prepared to speak, but we also figured out like the system that the organization uses.
Okay,
and then we will begin to do like research on that and try to get more information on it, because one of my group members actually works at this place, so it will be quite easy for us to get the information needed to ensure that we have everything we need to finish the project.
Okay, that's sounding good. Group 4. So ensuring that you know what the information system is very important, so that you can classify the system. When you're able to classify it, then you can proceed. All right, so thank you for sharing that, guys. Now, forum number 3, like I said, is going to be due on Sunday, October 2nd. These are all your upcoming assignments. In the second part of the process, we always do our practicals. So the practical week, your assignment is going to be due on the 9th, which is another Sunday. Then we have case study presentations ongoing. Presenters just need to keep up with the calendar that's there so that you don't miss your presentation date. And then finally, you will be having your first test, which covers chapters 1 to 3. This test is going to be open. It's already on Moodle, so it's open as of tonight, and it becomes due on the 10th of October. What does that mean? It simply means that you have between now and the 10th of October to do this test. However, if you start the test, you cannot exit. You only have a one-time trial. So when you go in, you need to go in prepared to do the test. In a little while, I'm going to give you the password and all the other requirements that you need in order to be ready for that assessment. All right, so the test covers 3 chapters, chapters 1 to 3. And what does that mean? It means that you must complete all the interactive slides. If you haven't completed that, the system is not going to open the test for you. You'll only have 30 multiple choice questions as well as true or false. So the question types will be questions that you can recall. You don't have any fill in the blanks or anything that you have to really write an essay for. You won't be building a system, but you will be asked to recall information in the form of multiple choice as well as true or false questions. How much time do you have? Exactly 1 hour and 15 minutes. When that timer is out, that's it. So pray that you have the best internet connection. Pray that your power doesn't go, because if that hour passes and 15 minutes passes, the test is not going to reopen for you. All right. You only have 1 attempt. So ensure that 1, you have completed all the interactive slides from chapters 1 right up to 3, that you are ready to do the test. It's uninterrupted time. You find a quiet place to do your test. And if you were to do the math, if each question took you about 2 minutes to do, you would still have 15 minutes left to check your work. So with only 30 questions, I think that's ample time for you to complete this test. The test has a password. It's on the screen, and please ensure that you have it written down somewhere. It's capital I, capital M, and that's a $, common TE, $, common T01. So it's on the screen. Please ensure that you have this password written down so that when you're ready to do this test, you are able to access it. The test closes on the 10th of October. That's a Monday. It's a holiday as well. It closes at midnight. Now, I decided to give it to you on the Monday since you have a practical project due on the Sunday, which is a Sunday night. This means that you have between now and the 10th of October to get this test done. You just need to find a time that works for you. All right, so let's discuss forum number 3. And I'm going to ask someone to read it for me. Let's go back to Moodle. And here we are. Let's ask Zulmi. Zulmi, can you read for us the instructions for forum number 3?
Hi. Okay, forum number 3, information systems, organizations, and strategy. Compare Getting University or UWI Open Campus Belize and the University of Belize, using criteria to help illustrate the leading university in Belize. Evaluation criteria can lead customer service offered, which entails programs, student service, etc. Information system, Centigrade, and e-learning, be sure to state ease of use, user-friendliness, and overall satisfaction. Mission and vision statements of each university. In addition, explain whether each of the organization's characteristics, structure, business processes, politics, culture, environment, and management decisions enable the successful implementation and utilization of the information systems. Focusing on the respective institutions, highlight how information system has helped each university achieve a competitive advantage. Furthermore, state the overall business strategy and the role technology plays in the business strategy so as to be able to distinguish how technology helped the universities to compete. Conclude by stating your number 1 university providing a sharp defense for your choice.
All right, thank you, Zulmi. So our focus in this forum right here is competitive advantage. I need to be able to see the terminologies from chapter 3 coming out. If you are able to do that, it means that you have either read the chapter or gone through the interactive slides that Dr. Ryan has prepared. And he has a whole set of slides just to give you the terminologies that are pertinent to chapter 3. He does a very good job at explaining them. So I need to see those terms coming out in your forum. Now, here is where you get to compare 2 universities. You can choose either Galen as your comparison to the University of Belize or UWI Open Campus to the University of Belize. However, your comparison needs to have some criteria, and we've given you some suggestions, but you're not limited to these. You have information system as one of the criteria that you're rating these universities by. You're looking at their mission and vision statements. You're looking at customer service. These are some of the criteria that you can use to rate these universities. So you can choose to compare. It says or, so you're not comparing all three. You're just doing one of these two, either Galen or UWI, to the University of Belize. And the purpose of your comparison is to show which one of them is the leading university in Belize. Now, some of you might be biased. You'll say, oh, I think it's UB, or you might say, no, I think it's Galen. Some might say, no, it's UWI Open Campus. Whatever your decision, you must back it up by your rating system. And your rating system is the same criteria that you're using to rate or evaluate the universities you're comparing. Anything that's in bold, you need to pay attention to. It's there for emphasis. It says, additionally, you're going to explain whether the organization's characteristics, and notice what characteristics are. This is a very important section of the chapter. Characteristics looks at the structure of the organization, its business processes, politics, culture, environment, and management decisions. How are these enabling the successful implementation as well as utilization of information systems? So this is something for you to spend a little time digging your teeth into so that you can address this well in the forum. Focus on the institutions and highlight how information system has helped the university achieve that competitive advantage. So this is what we're really looking at. This is the goal or your objective in this forum. You're trying to convince me that this university is better than the other one because they have implemented these criteria that you've listed. And I want to hear how their information system as well has given them or given them that competitive advantage as opposed to the other. Finally, you're stating the business strategy and the role of technology. You can't speak about information systems without speaking about technology and their business strategy. Tell us how these allow the universities to compete. Finally, this is the part that students enjoy. Tell us which is your #1 university and provide a short defense for your choice. And no, I will not penalize you if you say that one of the other universities is your university of choice. Not because I hold a red pen means that I'm going to be that vicious or that mean. All right, so this is a good opportunity for you to get familiar with Chapter 3's terminologies and concepts and share your views on why you think one of these universities has a greater competitive advantage over the other. You are a student, so you are the best person to do this forum, because you are the person, you are the end user or the customer who experiences these things firsthand. All right, any questions so far? Nope. So I take it it's clear. Now, what do I expect to see in your forum apart from the things I've mentioned? Please have your citations. I had to take away points from students. If you follow the rubrics, 10 points are given just for your citation. If you have even one citation properly formatted in APA, I will give you 10 points. You must comment on 2 students' forum posts for full points. If you don't, I have to deduct a whole 30 points off your forum post. And I've had to do that for the last forum. By now, you should know that that is one of the requirements for forums. And finally, anything in bold, you need to pay attention to. It must have the terminologies and concepts from the chapter. Don't forget, this is what I'm looking for. Okay, now I know practical project 3 will be due on the 9th of October, but some students like to start their assignments early. So for the benefit of those, I'm just going to share what it entails. So let's go back to Moodle. And we're going to scroll down to the practical section of this course, this unit. Unit 3 theory, practical. And here we are. Okay, I'm going to ask Tiana to read for us.
Good night, Miss. Good night, class. Practical project number 3, identifying opportunities for strategic information systems. With your group members, visit UB's website to find information about university and to see how UB is using the web. On the basis of this information, analyze the institution. Include a description of the organization's feature, which includes its structure, the business process, politics, culture, environment, and management decisions, and how these impact the successful implementation and utilization of the information systems. Describe the online information systems that can be accessed through UB's website. Those are Moodle, Dictionary, and Google Apps Suite. And rate how successful you believe the information systems are. Explain how UB's organizational features, business processes, culture, structure, environment, and its business strategy contribute to the success or failure of these systems. Finally, prepare a 10-minute presentation for submission using Google Slides.
Thank you. All right, so this presentation, I must mention this presentation you're actually going to do live in class. So that's the only difference this week. Each group is going to have the session to present this presentation in class. So this is the first presentation you'll actually be presenting live. You don't have to record this one. But the instructions, I believe, are self-explanatory. And again, pay attention to the sections in bold. This is a group project. So as a group, as a team, you're going to have to work on this. Set aside the time to devote to this assignment. And of course, you're still rating because we're looking at competitive advantage. So you're looking at the features that we have in brackets. Pay specific attention to those. By the end of this unit, you should be able to explain how these contribute to the organization's success, how they contribute to the success of the systems, and how they add to the competitive advantage. If you cannot speak about those by the end of the unit, then that means you either didn't do your assignment or you didn't understand the concept. That practical project must have the MIS definition. And whenever we speak about adding value, we are referring to coins. By now, you should know that it's synonymous. Adding value means that we're speaking about coins. And you should know what each of these letters in the acronym refers to. By now, you should be able to classify information systems into at least the general categories. We know that there are at least 4 that you should know from different levels of management. And of course, there are different types of applications as well that still fall under these general groupings. We have business processes. You should know what a business process is. If we gave you an example of one, you should be able to identify what a process is. You need to be able to characterize, state the characteristics of an organization and speak about how they affect an information system, as well as the implementation of an information system. There are 3 things we speak about in this course: technology, the organization, and management or people. So this unit is looking at the organization, and you need to be able to bring that out as you present. Right. So at this time, we are going to have our case study presenter, and the reminders are on the screen. Just before he comes to us, I'm going to pause to take the attendance while he shares his screen. So when I call your name, just respond, okay? Shanali? She is absent. Tadicha? Shanice? Dominic, you can go ahead and share your screen while I take the attendance. Juana?
Here, Miss.
Tiana?
Here, Miss.
Daniel?
Present.
Vanetta?
Present, Miss.
Dominique? Karen?
Here, Miss.
Miss, I present, sorry, I will look for the mute button.
Keisha?
Here, Miss.
Martha?
Here, Miss.
Shanika?
Here, Miss.
Zolmi?
Here.
Natasha?
Here.
Diona?
Here, Miss.
Gabriel?
Here, Miss.
Starla?
Here, Miss.
Jalen? Annalie?
Here, Miss.
Okay. The persons I presently have absent are Jalen, Shanice, Khadija, and Shanali. All right, Dominic, you can go ahead.
Jalen is sick, Miss.
Oh, he's sick?
Yes, Mom.
Thank you for letting me know.
1 second. Okay. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, good night, class. Tonight, my case study topic is digital technology helps Crayola brighten its brand. My name is Dominic Gordon. And basically what this topic is telling us is Crayola trying to keep up or revamp themselves based on the ever-changing times of, the involvement of technology and how digital technology coincides with the way they keep up their competitive strategies and advantages. So let's move on. So the problem that they were referring to is like what I said. Technology is moving a little bit too fast for the world to keep up with. And in this case, it is affecting Crayola because what we are used to, or what children and the market that they basically provide to, is trying to keep up with technology and a whole digital technology. And there are many factors that contribute to this issue. For example, as it relates to management, in the past, the leadership was not forward thinking. So it held them back in a sense in the evolution process. And as it relates to product development function, it was obsolete. They were simply sticking to markers, pencils, colorings, things of that nature that they initially sold. In the organization aspect of things, their organizational culture was just stagnant. It wasn't really there. They were losing that culture actually, and so they had to revamp that as well, you know, to create a more cultural organization, which in turn would strengthen their sales, strengthen the way workers react to change, and also specific product lines rather than consumer insights. So instead of selling a whole, or instead of focusing on what the consumer wants, they were focusing on the product itself, right? What they believe was best, not what the customer believes is best, right? So those were all contributing factors. And also technology, the advent of computers and web-based learning affected them and caused this issue. Interests have also shifted to electronics such as video games and digital tablets and smartphones. So Crayola just had to find a way to keep up with all of that. Now, as it relates to Crayola's competitive strategies, what is it? Competitive strategy is basically what identifies how to build and strengthen the business's long-term competitive position in the marketplace, right? So it's just finding creative ways, unique ways to do this. And like what I have there, differentiation speaks of uniqueness on a whole, and this is what Crayola mainly focuses on, differentiation. So they seek to be unique in its industry, and their industry is basically high quality and dependable products such as markers, crayons. When you try to go and shop for your children, you try to look for well, if you can afford it as well, you look for the best quality stuff. But when you hear markers and crayons, the first name that normally comes to mind is Crayola, the first brand. And so they focus on what the customers value most. And also, to a lesser extent, another competitive strategy would be focus, right? They use it to their competitive advantage. They compete by providing a product or service that their customers cannot get from their generalist competitors. And one of their competitors would be Rose Art. So as we see here in the photo, Crayola versus Rose Art. See, we know the actor Jason Momoa, the girl's crazy over this guy. And then you have this other dude who would say like a bootleg version of him, right? Just for laughs. But we get the point, right? Rose Art is, we would say, one of their biggest competitors. But I would say that, or most people believe they don't really hold a candle to the quality that Crayola provides for everyone, right? So that is it for competitive strategies. As it relates to people issues, now the issues that they were speaking of were that people were noticing with the ever-changing technology was that they were looking for sophisticated forms of entertainment, and that would be digitally based. This is what children are now used to, right? So they're now leaving behind handheld art supplies too early. From between ages 4 to 5, children are already messing around with gadgets. Even before that, parents are now looking for toys that are less messy than traditional markers or finger paints, so that they can reduce that cleaning. And having a digital device in front of them, which still provides that creativity in a sense for their children, is what this digital technology is all about. And Crayola seeks to try and accomplish that by integrating all of that together for parents and children. So they change the way it markets its products to connect more with parents and educators, right? And parents want to connect as well. They can, access online pages and chat groups and things of that nature to try and connect with each other, right? I want to also reiterate on that competitive strategy, how digital technology aids in this regard would be with, like I said, their new brands that they're pushing out. So Crayola has what they would like to call eye markers that they have on their apps, their online apps. So you can download the app and you have eye markers, you have toys and gadgets that they also provide, new toys and gadgets that they provide that still gives children that sense of creative touch and creative unique and that uniqueness, and also educates them. It does not take away that sense of education, you know, that parents yearn for their children. Now, moving on to Crayola's business model, Crayola has reframed its business model, introduced a new innovation process for product development, and they created new products and revenue streams like what I mentioned, eye markers is an example, and transformed from a manufacturer of crayons and art tools into a trusted source of tools and experience for creative play. So what we are used to is the physical crayons, but they have digitized all of this, right? So they are integrating the old and the new through digital technology. This is what I was referring to, the eye marker through Color Studio HD app. They can download this on their iPads. Children can use it. There are toys that they have created, like the digital light designer, which they have a digitized pen, and they can doodle on this cylindrical or conical toy, right? So it gives children that imaginative feel. And as we all know, imagination and creativity plays a huge role in the way how children think. You know, it opens up avenues for them. So how is it applicable to Belize, right? Belize is firstly not as technologically advanced or inclined, and Creola's target market is mainly reflected towards children in school, right? So the reason I bring this up is because with all of this advancement that is happening, well, Belize is impoverished on a whole, right? So parents, or somebody's mic is on. So can you hear me still?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So parents cannot really afford all these technological advancements that comes with the new age, right? So what schools aren't even utilizing technology the way they should, because teachers and children are not really as savvy as yet. We're still trying to adapt to the pandemic, which changed a lot of things, you know? So imagine trying to go from physical crayons and pencils to utilizing tablets with digital markers, you know, in schools, at home, things like that. So in Belize, there are, like I said, a plethora of impoverished individuals attending the schools. Thus, we are led to believe that local vendors like Stationery House, Angelo's Press, ENR, Simon Kwan, etc., will continue to thrive by selling physically outdated versions, if you must say, of Crayola's creative tools. These creative tools, like I said, crayons, markers, books, magazines, whatever they create and they make, right? And they will continue to sell that because that is the more affordable avenue for the market at hand. In Belize, a very small population and not a very wealthy one at that. So that is, as application applies, that is how Belize would have to deal with that. And that basically sums up the case study and my presentation. Any questions, guys?
What did you find most interesting from this assignment, Dominic?
Most interesting. The fact that Crayola had so many or a wide variety of online tools, you know, at our disposal. I did not know that they basically ventured into that many digital tools. So I was struck when I saw that, and I said, "Wow, I know for a fact that their competitors are not keeping up like the way they are. Hence the reason they will continue to thrive in the market that they are in. So they are changing the game. Others are not keeping up. That is what struck me the most now.
Gabriel, we're hearing you.
It'll go off the Levi.
Sorry.
Okay, so yes, we see that Crayola is changing the landscape, and I don't know how many of you have been looking at some of the things that Galen has been doing. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, but they had a feature about one of their students who had done this animation series. And, you know, they're taking basic folklore and making animated stories out of it. And in so doing, they're making the leads known. And I see something like this working for animators. When some of the phones, for example, the Note, you can write with them, and some of those devices allow you to be able to draw and sketch as well. And so you can make animated series if you're using them to create ads for companies, etc. There are opportunities for you to use these devices for a variety of reasons. Do you see this working in schools though, Dominic?
Eventually it can work. We are slowly adapting to technology. It will take a dedicated group of individuals, and Belizeans are very adamant to sticking with what they already know. But the new, I would say, the younger generation has a feel and a love for technology, so younger teachers can influence the older heads that are phasing out, and also the new children that are coming in, and influential people that that would fund these ventures, this new venture. And so I see it happening. Just they have to really be dedicated, to go about it.
So he mentioned some very important things. He mentioned the finance, the people that would need to invest. And because right now, parents are finding a struggle just to buy a box of crayons for their children. You tell them, oh, get them a graphics tablet or one of these Crayola apps so that they can use in class. That would be a strain. But in the future, that is an option that they can consider. And we look at different types of learners. For example, or many of our schools don't cater to our autistic children and students who learn differently. And
so they can be visual learners.
Right. And so some of these applications can actually assist in the classroom. Over the years, we saw technology as the enemy of teachers, and now we're asking students to use the technologies so that learning can be enhanced. So it's a big paradigm shift. All right, so now from the class, let me ask you, what did you find very interesting from Dominic's presentation? That's the first part of the question. And the second is, how did you see the, or what examples of competitive advantage do you see from the case study that he shared with us tonight?
Miss, good night. I noticed that in schools, they use a lot of crayons, especially for younger children, to teach them to write or how to grip a crayon. And to me, my personal opinion, I believe that yes, technology is there, but we need to learn to write. And I think that will never surpass it. I think it will never surpass the Crayola because it's a technical skill that it shows the children. To me then, that's how I see.
And that is a very valid point though, Ms. Gutierrez, because those tactical skills, those motor skills have to be developed early. And if they're not developed, then children will have problems later on. All right, anybody else wanted to share?
Hi, Miss. Like he mentioned, I had no idea that Crayola, well, the entire case study being based on the crayon company, that's not something you see on a norm. And the technological part of it, I'm used to physical crayons, children having the physical crayons. So with the eye marker and the pens and stuff like that, that was new to me and quite interested. He mentioned that keep their competitive edge, especially when comparing it to rose art. You don't hear much about rose art, not even being marketed as much as Crayola. And I believe the way they customize and with the introduction of these new information technological parts of Crayola, that's how they keep the competitive edge over the other crayon companies.
Thank you, Tiana. I even see it.
Miss,
Yes, go ahead.
I think Crayola on a competitive edge that the digital light designer, because that cater to autistic kids. Other kids in general, but I know an autistic child who had problems using crayons because every time they write too hard and then they broke up no care what size they get. So they got them the digital thing and they express their artistic skills using that. So I think that is good for certain kids.
Yes, I'm glad that you shared that example. In Belize, I know we have a few institutions that really cater to our autistic children. And it's important for us to get the right tools so that these children can be given the best opportunities possible. All right. Anybody else wanted to add?
Miss, I just wanted to add, because based on what Karen and Annalie, I think it was mentioned in regards to the motor skills and so forth. For me, I think with what Dominique mentioned with Crayola going towards a more digital aspect of it, it also opens up other opportunities for other businesses. Because personally, with my kids, I know, yes, they have to practice that motor skills, but part of the book list that they ask for is a specific pencil that is the jumbo pencil. So for them to be able to actually practice the writing as a child, like they're just starting to write. So it's big enough for them to use. So it opens up, I think, possibilities for other companies.
Very good, Martha. I like the way you're thinking. And even for artists, I see opportunities too. And some artists are using their digital sketch pads to create their artistic pieces, and then they sell them online in these online stores that they have. Some market on Etsy. They make t-shirt designs with these tools as well. So if you're looking beyond the service that it provides for children, you know, there are other opportunities that can come out of it as well. And I like that although their focus was on the physical crayon, they were able to still find a way to adapt to the changing times. You are all information systems management students, and every day in your society, you look around and you see challenges, you see problems, and you might be able to come up with solutions to some of those problems. You might be a forward thinker And you realize that a lot of the things that we use or are using now will become obsolete or irrelevant in the future. And you might be able to come up with creative ways to ensure that these things continue, but they're still continuing in a way that is adapting with the changing times. You might have some ideas of some of those right now as I'm speaking. Whatever they are, you have to be able to just look around your world, look around. It could be right in your home, some of the things that you're seeing, some of the experiences you hear from day to day, from conversations you have on a daily basis, might be doors that you see opening to new opportunities and new products and services that you yourself could be the pioneer or the engineer behind. So as we are getting ready to close out our session tonight, I just want to thank our presenter and all those who participated. I think this was another excellent presentation. He has posted it on Moodle in our worksheet. So let me just share, just for those who are still not sure where to find our classroom resources, I'm just going to take you there. So all the way at the top of the page, we have our course facilitators and syllabus link under book. And this takes us to the course book. You'll see Dr. Ryan. You hear him every time you listen to an interactive slide. And then I am the second link right there. So you are OS2 groups. And of course, this is going to open your group list. But this workbook has 3 pages. You have a list of case studies. So if you need to ever go back to any of the case studies as you prepare for your test, they're all here. All the case studies that have been presented are here already. And the links are there so you can click on them and review them. Our upcoming presenters are also here. So it's good for you to just come back to this list time to time, just to see where you are on the list and when you're coming up. Our next presenter will be Miss Karen, and she's going to present on the 4th. And then the 11th, we have another presenter, Miss Keisha. So keep up to date with these. All right, and the final sheet has our live session recordings. So if you look on that little table, we have our processes. And remember, our process has 3 parts. There's a theory, practical, and research. So we did 2 processes already. That was unit 1 and unit 2. We're now at unit 3. And you'll notice it's empty because we're currently recording this session. So when I've edited and uploaded the session to YouTube, I'm going to just copy the link here. And you can always come back and click on it if there's something you might have missed or wanted to double check. For the meets, the times where you meet in your own groups, but independent of me, we won't have a recorded session. So I would just write groups meet there. And the only other session that hasn't been recorded was our very first class session because I hadn't been given the accountants yet. So everything is here for you guys, your groups, your case study listing, as well as the case studies that have been presented and the resource sheet. Any questions? Okay, no questions. Just your final reminder, test 1, you have from now up to the 10th of October to complete it. Forum 3 is due on Sunday, the 2nd of October, and practical project 3 is going to be due on Sunday, the 9th of October. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening, and I hope you have a good one. I will see you on Thursday.
Excuse me, Miss.
Yes, ma'am.
I was hoping if you would have a little time just to meet with me and my group.
Sure, you can stay back.
Okay, thanks.
All righty. Oops.
Night, miss.
Good night, Gabriel. All right, how can I help you?
We just had a few questions in regards to the research paper. So one of the things was in regards to like the topic, because if you notice, we didn't really have a specific topic, but there was a sample paper, I believe you sent Shanika. And then with other research papers as well, we were noticing that there's a specific topic to it. So that's why we're focusing on basically the difference between the in-house and the standard software. So I'm not sure if we're on the right path when it comes to that, because as well, one of the things that Shanika mentioned, I'm not sure if she could give her input, was when it comes to the researching that we're trying to do, like what exactly the papers that we're looking for.
Yes, I'm right here. So to elaborate, Miss, in research method, what we did, like we have a topic and or the heading of the research, then like the research will be like this research aims to, and then you will tell, you will state what the research is trying to explain or what they're trying to portray. So like in this case, like Martha mentioned, this company that we have, they create an in-house software system that they're using. So they also have an outsourced software system called Sage Peachtree that is for their accounting purposes. But what I was saying, or what I think the purpose of the paper would have been in our case will be to differentiate between the effectiveness of an in-house operation system versus the ones that is outsourced. And then we can use that as a feeding chain, I would suppose, if that's the right word for use. We gather as much information and then we can compare the two. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, you're actually on the right track. I also want to share with you what's on the course outline. Now, this course outline has been prepared by the course coordinator. So we do still need to ensure that we follow what is here. One of the things that you will do is to state the important work done in that area. For example, I don't remember who messaged me today, but we were speaking about some of the things that you would include in your literature review. And you said, okay, because the system is one that was developed in-house, it's kind of hard to find other systems. So you can find systems related to it or similar to it and state what work was done based on those systems, or how did those organizations use those systems. So yes, you do start your research paper, like you mentioned a while ago, using the research methodologies practices. Your research paper is going to be a qualitative paper, so you have to ensure that when you state what you're going to do, that you also ensure that it shows that you're using data that has been verified, that persons have done tests, etc., to come up with these conclusions, because it's not a qualitative paper, it's a quantitative paper. So you have to show empirical evidence somewhere. And in doing that, we usually refer to a theoretical structure, some structure that a researcher has used in the past to come up with their evidence. And this is what the researcher used to prove that this is the outcome, or this is how we're able to determine our systems. One of the areas that we are focusing on in this paper is the success of information systems. So as you're right, we still need to be able to find out or hear that theme coming up. That's one of the main areas we want to address in this course. Can students determine if an information system is successful or not? And so even though you're writing about the different in-house and what was the other factor you mentioned? The
outsourced information system. So like if you say like UB built Moodle, I don't know if UB built Moodle. So instead of saying UB built Moodle for UB students, we would basically get something from Galen that Galen is already using and they sold to us.
Right. So you're comparing those that the in-house software that has been developed by the company and those that are already existing. So in
Right.
your explanation, you want to find what did persons use to determine how successful these systems were. For example, several universities are using Moodle right now as a learning management system. Okay, why are they using it? They had to be something that allowed universities to know that this is the learning management system you should use as opposed to others. And so this is where the theoretical frameworks come in. They allow us to see what researchers have had to say about the systems. And in your case, because the company probably couldn't find a system that met their needs, they had to have theirs custom built. And based on that, they would also be able to still fall into this structure, because you would be able to use the framework developed by another developer, maybe for one of the outsourced software. So let's look at same Moodle. If someone is using Moodle and you're comparing that to a information system that Dominic built for the University of Belize, we still need a structure to evaluate the system and find out, is it going to be as successful as the one that has already been in existence? So this is where the structure comes in, and it will require you searching other research papers and finding out what did this author use to determine that this system was a good fit for this organization. What can we learn from that? So we're looking at how they analyze and solve issues, what they did, what they discovered, any limitations, you need to list those as well. And how does the study improve upon what you discovered? So these must be addressed, and I'm just reminding you of the course outline here. They must be addressed in your literature review. These are some of the areas he's looking at. So even though you are following the right structure in terms of how you write, please ensure that these are also included in your literature review. All right. So far, you should have the introduction, just a brief draft already, and a draft of the literature review, because you'll continue working on that. But let me find out from you, have you been able to find any structures or models that researchers have used to measure the success of their systems as yet?
To be honest, we found quite a few sources. We have the documents, so it's just to read over the documents per se and to get that information from off it, because the heading seems to be related to what we're doing, but in terms of the structure, like you're asking, it still needs further research in order for us to analyze that.
Right. Okay. And that's the important part. I don't want you guys to miss that. Okay. So once you have what you have so far is a good start, but you must have in there a model that you will use to assess the system for this company that you are researching. So even though we say you're researching the company, it's really their information system, but you still have to assess the information system being used by the company. How is it benefiting the staff? Is it effective? Is it not? And the model that you use is going to help you to determine that. All right. One model that you must include, and if you haven't looked for it as yet, is the La-Dene and McLean model. And you can easily look for that on Google Scholar. That is one of the models that I expect to see in your paper, and it's one of the easiest that you can use to guide your research. I'm looking for the reading assignment for chapter 2. Just a second. But in that document, and I sent it by email because some students weren't able to access it from the link here. But in there, they show you the importance of having your model. So the literature review has 3 processes. Right now, you're doing your inputs. I see your group has started processing. You're seeing how it applies. You're trying to evaluate and analyze and synthesize. You're trying to understand the literature as well. And then the final stage will be the output. So this is an ongoing cycle. This second part, it's a repetitive process. You have to keep doing that for each article you read. You read it to understand, you read it to apply, you read it to analyze, you read it to synthesize, and then you evaluate. But the section that I want you to read so that you can make some sense of what I'm saying is page 198, where it speaks about the models and frameworks. And there they tell you why you need a theoretical framework or why a model is used. And from the model, you will be able, this is what establishes your foundation in your literature review. Okay, so from there, you'll be able to determine how effective or ineffective the system is. It also looks at the relationship among the variables you mentioned, the custom software versus those already established software, the outsourced software. So those are some of the things that you might be evaluating in your paper as well.
That makes sense and you fully clarified, Miss. Thank you very much.
Alrighty. I know it's a lot of work, but this is, when you get the literature review done, this is to me, this is the hardest part. So persons might disagree, but once this is done, then you can focus on the methodology, which is just getting data from the company. The data is in a spreadsheet, so it analyzes it for you. To some extent, when I say analyze, I mean it creates the charts for you because you're using Google Sheets, but then you now have to be able to interpret that data when we get to that. All right, but this is the bulk of the work. So try to get your theoretical model and continue developing your literature review so that that can be one less thing that you have to worry about.
Yes, ma'am, will do. Thanks.
Okay, Miss. Thank you.
For your time, Miss, and the clarification.
Thank you, Miss.
Alrighty, good night, guys.
Good
Night.
night.
Good night, Miss.